Um, Justin, you've given me some topics that you'd like me to talk about tonight. So, one of the first ones was that you mentioned was talking around um, goal setting for financial planning and goal setting for each individual person. And I think the goal setting is it's a very important part of any plan because it's like you're saying you want to achieve, you want to be financially secure. What does that actually look like? So, when we talk about goal setting from financial planning, it's very individual. Everyone has different priorities, but really, when you are looking at goals, it's about saying what are your goals? Being able to measure them by when. What do you need to do to achieve them? And one of the best things, Justin, that I've experienced when we sit down with clients and talk about goals is to look at and saying, well, where are you at now? Where do you want to go? Sometimes goals don't agree with each other, and it allows people to prioritize what's really important, and are they achievable. If you're not on the path to achieve your goals, that's why we call it a financial plan. Let's look at what you need to do to achieve the things that are most important to you on a financial planning front. So goals is something that's really important. If you don't have goals, my experience is the old saying, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail financially. I called my business Aligned Financial Planning because one of the most important things that people should do is align what they've got today with the life they want to live today with the life they want to live in the future, and aligning those two together. Because if you live in today the whole time and you don't plan for the future, the problem is you might reach retirement and have a 40% drop in your lifestyle. So, as a financial planner, what we do is sit down with clients and work out what are you hoping to achieve? Are you on track? What are your options to look forward to choose what you're looking to do? So, an example would be, when people are talking about their goals, and Justin, you're a mortgage broker and you go through this more than anyone that I would know. When people are talking about, achieving their goals, they want to buy a home. That's one of the main ones. So when people buy a home, how quickly do you want to sell it down? So that we'll get to that in a moment about the home loans. But one of the other topics that Justin asked to talk about was superannuation. Superannuation and how it works. So did you have any questions, Justin, you wanted to ask around that at this stage?
Just more to maybe we could just touch on just the basics of super, I suppose, because there's a significant gap in terms of just the knowledge part. So maybe just touch on some basics,
Yep.
and then from there, if there's any questions along the way we can actually raise.
Yep.
But just start on the basics and what you're seeing in terms of a trend, perhaps, or what you see in the other end when
Yep.
people don't have enough super. That's a big one.
Yep.
And how to actually know what you need for example, just that sort of basic info there in terms of
Okay.
for superannuation, yeah.
All right. So, from a very basic point of view, every employer in Australia has to pay money into your superannuation at a rate of 12%. So, for every dollar you earn, they've got to, for every $100 you earn, they've got to put $12 into superannuation. So it has to be a superannuation that's in the employee's name. So, an example, Justin, if I'm working for you and you pay me $100, you've got to put $12 into my superannuation. That is government, that is by law. They have to do that. Okay. That's one of the best systems in the world of compulsory retirement savings across all economies. So you have to have money. Your employer has to put 12% into superannuation in your name. The beauty of that is the superannuation is then invested how you choose to invest it. A lot of people don't realize they've got a lot of flexibility there. You can choose to be conservative, or you can choose to get your money to work a bit harder and be moderate, or you might say, this money's there for the long term. I'm going to invest it in a bit more growth. So you can choose your investments in there according to what your risk profile is. So, Justin, if you think someone's working in over a 10-year period, they're going to earn, say, $700,000. 12% of that goes into superannuation. That's $84,000 that your employer has to put into your super. So it is possible that that money is going to be there for your retirement. And in retirement, I'll tell you the carrot that the government dangles. the money in your retirement that's in your super, you can move it into what's called a pension, where it pays you every month and you've still got access to it, and it's tax-free. So there's no tax on the withdrawals, there's no tax on the pension payments, there's no tax on the earnings within it. So it's its own little tax bubble where the tax rate is zero. So if you can build your superannuation up, it's not like a salary where you pay tax to the government on every dollar you earn. With your superannuation, when you retire, there's no tax on it. And it's used to produce a fortnightly or a monthly payment like your wage was when you finish work. So that's the reason the government designed superannuation the way it is, so that when you retire, Justin, that money, if you've built up money and that money's sitting there, even if you've added to it yourself over the journey, it will pay you fortnightly or monthly in your retirement and help you live when you retire. Okay. In next step down is, or next step along is, superannuation's locked away until either you're 60 and retired or 65, whichever is the earliest. Now, I'll bet my firstborn son, who I love, great boy, that by the time 15 years comes along, it's probably going to be close. They'll push that age, you can access it back a bit further because people are living longer, and it's designed there to provide you money for when you retire. But so you've got that whole work life to build that money up. You can add extra money to super if you want. You can even put it into super before tax. So instead of paying tax yourself at say 30% or 40%, the money goes into super at 15%. So it's a great way to save tax and build money for retirement. But you need to be careful that you can't touch it until you're 60 and retired. Okay, so there's great benefits there of doing that. And there's no better way to produce income in retirement than using your superannuation. Yeah. So
yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. What are some of the myths about superannuation that you've come across in your many years? Then some of the myths there about it, and why should I start now? All that sort of stuff. Is it worth it? All that sort of stuff. And what are the good and not so good stories you see about it when people come closer to,
One of the biggest myths, Justin, is that you have no control. That's one of the biggest myths. People have their superannuation. They get their statement once a year. They put it in the drawer at the bottom and they say, well, I can't do anything about it. All right. I've seen it. If you think that way, you and about 2 million Australians think the same way. And there's nothing, in the past, there wasn't that many flexibilities. But now with your super, you need to check your super. Make sure your super's performing well. Make sure your fees aren't eating away at your super too much. There used to be super funds where they charge 2% a year to run them. That's crazy. That means if you've got $100,000 in super, they're taking 2,000 of that. Now that you need to check that your super fund's competitive, and don't just leave your super think, I can't touch that till I'm retired, so I don't need to look at it. That's the biggest mistake people make with super, Justin. If the money's not in a super fund that's not performing well, you can move it to another super. Okay. If it's not performing well because it's sitting, say, in a very conservative portfolio earning 0.5% per annum, you can change how that's invested. You have the choice. Your super, your choices. Okay. You just can't access it until you're 60, but you can definitely control it, and you can definitely make sure that it's working hard for you. So the biggest myth of super is I can't touch it till I'm retired, so I won't even look at it. That's the biggest mistake people make with super. Okay. The other thing about superannuation is that you can actually use super to pay for some of your personal insurances. And we'll go through that in a minute. We're going to cover off insurances, but you've got a young couple who have 2 kids and they've got a home loan and they're working to build their careers, and cash flow's tight, but they've got a home loan of $400,000 with 2 young kids. They need to get some insurance. You can get super to pay for that. So it's really important when you do a plan that you work out where's the best way to spend your money, and are there other ways that you can cover yourself in that safety net. So superannuation, one of the biggest mistakes people make, don't review it. One of the best things people do with superannuation is say, okay, I've got some extra money. I've got $1,000 extra that I'm in my cash flow per month, just say, or $1,000. If you want to put that in and invest it, you're going to pay tax at your tax rate. So that's 30%. In superannuation, the tax rate's 15%. So you're halving your tax bill on that money. Or if you take that $1,000 from your pay, you're paying 30%. It's only paying 15% if you put it into your super. So one of the beautiful things about super is as you get later in life, generally the kids might move out of home. Your home loan's a lot less. If you've got a good broker and a good financial planner, you don't have a home loan because you've been smart about things. And then you say, hang on, I've got this surplus cash flow. What do I do with it? You can then say, well, I'm going to retire in 8 years. Why don't I put the money into super pre-tax, save all the tax, and in 8 years' time, I'm going to have extra money there because all that tax savings is going to build my super. And then when I retire, I'm going to have more money, which is going to give me more money for the rest of my life. So there's smart strategies around it. There definitely is. One of the biggest things I say to people when they say, oh, I'm not really sure about super, your neighbour is saving tax using super. The people that you know and meet down the street, they're saving tax using super. You're entitled to save the tax using super. This is not illegal. It is absolutely legal. The government wants you to save money for your retirement so they don't have to pay as much age pension. But your people are taking advantage of these benefits. Why aren't you? You're entitled to it. So that's one of the biggest thrills that as a financial planner we get is, okay, let's put this money aside and we're going to save you some money. Okay, so with that super side of it, it's really, there are some real benefits there. Okay, what I want to get to and talk about as well, Justin, one of the topics you said to talk about is insurance. Okay, if you have a couple, both working, both having incomes coming in, and they've set their goals, they've set their financial plan up, and they're paying more off their home loan, they're saving extra, they're doing extra things, they're building their wealth to give them financial security, and they've got a great plan in place. That whole valley of wealth is being fed by their incomes. Okay, because that's the money they use every month or every week to fund these goal attainment things that they're doing. These things that they want to achieve is all funded by their income. So if something happens to their health and that income stops, what's the impact? So insurance is really outsourcing that risk to someone else to make sure that your financial system and your financial structure doesn't fall apart if something happens to your health. Okay, so whether you die, there is life insurance. Whether you can never work again, there is a total permanent disability insurance. If you can't work for a short period of time, you're going snow skiing. Justin, just say you're snow skiing. I can see you snow skiing, okay? You look like a fast snow skier. So you go straight down the middle, but you get a bit off track, and you go bang into a tree and you crush your vertebrae and you can't work for 3 years. The question you've got to ask yourself, if I don't have any insurance, how am I going to meet my costs? How am I going to pay my bills, my mortgage? Am I still going to be living in the same house because I haven't got any insurance? So the insurance side of it is to make sure you have, I'll call it a safety net, a financial safety net. You can use superannuation to pay for that. You don't even need to use your super funds insurance. You can actually get, like Justin, you have a range of lenders that can get people great rates. We've got a range of insurance providers where we can say to someone, look, your safety net means you need these levels of cover. Here's the cost, and your super fund can pay for it. That's one way to you say, okay, because Justin, we've got this cover in your super. But you want to pay your home loan off, right? Well, if you pay your home loan off, that's your goal. You can use your super to pay for the insurance. So there's a lot of flexibility about that insurance, but ask yourself the question, and I say this to everyone, it's really, really important. If something happened to your health and you were to pass away, where is your family at? Okay. If something happened to your health and you weren't able to work, how do you pay your bills? That's really, really important. If the answers to those questions are concerning, then you need to have a review of what safety net you've got in place. And that's, sometimes people have insurance inside their super, they don't even know. So have a look at your statement, see, you might have that cover, but you can get a safety net in place. Obviously, if you're healthy, it's cheaper. If you've got some medical issues that might be a concern, but we still hopefully be able to get you some cover to make sure that, if something bad happened, you still stay in your home, your family's okay, you're still making your loan repayments, and you're not having a financial disaster. Because insurance is outsourcing the risk to someone else and paying them a premium to do it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Awesome, Jason. That's really helpful. That's really insightful. I like the word outsourcing because it means that somebody else is covering that. So,
Yeah.
so super. And in terms of what is we're just going back to super, just touching a little bit because that's a topic of um, what what is a good like coming down the line later in life? What does a good super strategy look like? What does somebody like, give us a good news story and one not so good in terms of, someone did this, and then they sort of what's a good superannuation
Okay.
or not balance
I've
per se, but what do you need to have in terms of super to say that you've actually are prepared to actually
yeah,
yeah, live in dignity. That's the word I'm going to use.
that's a great word. I'm going to start using that now, Justin, if you don't mind. The most important number when you're doing a financial plan, Justin, is how much income you need to live in dignity. There you go. I've already started using it.
Oh, thank you.
That's the most important part of a financial plan. Whether we're looking at a plan and I meet someone 3 years from retirement, 7 years from retirement, 10 years, 15, because you want to make sure you don't have a change in lifestyle. You can achieve the lifestyle you want.
Mm,
So I'll give you a classic example of clients I saw 4 years ago, 60 years old, still owed $200,000 of their home loan. They had $450,000 in super, and they were spending $12,000 a month outside of their home loan. They weren't saving a cent. They had good incomes, and they were making minimum repayments on their home loan. After 4 appointments, I worked out that they were going to have a 55% drop, and they wanted to retire at 65, which is 5 years away. They were going to have a 55% drop in their lifestyle. So what we did is we sat down and said, are your goals achievable? So we went back to the goals we talked about earlier. And I said, you're going to have a 55% drop in your lifestyle when you hit 65. And when you hit 67, it's going to be even less. So we said, okay, are your goals achievable? We measured what those goals need for them to commit now to achieve those goals. So we're able to measure their goals. They said, okay, well, we'll cut how much we live on. So they went down to 8,000. They're now down to 6,000. Now, this is not including home loan repayments. This is just on their spending. So they're now down. So they've cut their spending by half. And we started a very aggressive salary sacrifice, which is putting money into super before tax. Now, once again, this is specific advice to them. This isn't advice to anyone in the group chat, but it's highlighting that there are strategies out there. So we really ramped up their salary sacrifice. We saved them numerous, tens of thousands of dollars in tax, and they're actually on track. And I said to them, you can't retire at 65. You've got to wait till you're 67. Since they've been well committed and made such commitments to them. And the funny thing is, Justin, I said to them, you at 65 want you to make these decisions now because you can't continue the way you're going. So what they've never done is set their goals. So they're now on track to retire at 66 instead of 67 because they've made such good commitments. So Justin, the challenge that we faced with them is they'd never planned. They'd never set goals. And then he told me after 4 appointments that when he was growing up, his dad said to him, just work hard. When you get to 65, whatever's left, then that's what you've got for the rest of your life. That's what his dad had told him. He goes, my dad did the same thing and he retired without much money and he lived on a pension. He hardly had anything in retirement. He never traveled. He never did anything. I said, well, if you plan for the future, your reward is better dignity, I guess you could say, Justin. Yeah.
Fair enough. A young person in superannuation, Jason, why should they care?
Why should they care?
Yeah.
I can tell you why, because superannuation will be the biggest asset or the second biggest asset they'll end up owning.
Mm. Okay.
If you had a home, why do you care? It's going to be bigger than most people's actual investments that they set up.
Mm.
Someone who starts now, they're going to have 12% paid into their super all the way through. they'll end up with a superannuation balance in excess of $1 million. Justin, if I said to you, here's $1 million, would you care what you did with it, or you or whatever? I'll put it in there. I'll put the statement in the bottom of the desk. I'll check it every 3 years. Of course you care. It's going to be the second, or your home's going to be the biggest, depending on where you live. But generally, it's the biggest. It's the second or third biggest investment you'll ever have.
Mm.
So why should you care? Because it's going to be worth over $1 million. A young person, if they put, even if they said, all right, I'm living at home now, I can afford to put, $20 a week into super before tax, you can do some numbers around that. It's a magical difference, because don't forget, if you're starting that at 20, you can't touch it till you're 60. So every year it's earning more on itself, then more again, then more again, more again. That's 40 years of compounding returns. It makes a massive difference. Yeah. So why should you care about super? You can use it to fund your insurance. All right. So that leaves the money that hits your bank account after you get taxed from your boss, they're your golden coins. You've already paid tax. Don't waste that money on paying for some insurances when you've got the chance of using your super to build that. If you're worried about your super being depleted, then put the money into super pre-tax. There's ways you can go about it. But if it's going to be worth over $1 million, Justin, does that change your question about why do you care?
Of course it does. I had to ask it that way because I know it's a trigger.
Yeah. And the thing is that now it automatically goes in. The boss has to pay it, 12%. That's there's not many countries around the world that has that system, and that's why Australia is one of the strongest financial systems in the world. We have compulsory superannuation. I've got friends in other countries around the world that don't have any.
Jason, on the insurance payments that come from super, if you can just give us a run through on the types of insurances that you can pay using a super.
Okay. Life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Total and permanent disability insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And income protection insurance. So income protection. So the first two, life insurance and total permanent disability, pay you a lump sum that you select. So you might say, okay, I've got a $500,000 home loan and I want to have a bit extra money to leave to my kids and my partner. So I'm going to take $1 million worth of cover. If you're a 25-year-old, that might cost you less than $300 a year in your super. Most people can't tell me the balance of their super within $2,000. So the total permanent disability is if you can never, ever work again in any job you're trained in. Okay. So if Justin has worked as a mortgage broker his whole life, as an example, and something happens to him, he can never work again as a mortgage broker, then that money gets paid to him. All right. So if he's got, once again, the cover in there in your super, and then income protection, which is generally after a waiting period that you can check, and it's up to 70% of your pay. So if someone's earning, say, $80,000 a year, and Justin's doing his snow skiing and he's hit that tree, he can't work for 3 years. After his waiting period, say that's 30 days, he'll get paid about $56,000 a year for the 3 years until he's back at work. Okay. Mm-hmm. So your super fund can pay for that. There are some tax implications and there are some structural things about doing it, but you don't even need to use your own super fund's insurer. You can get an external insurer and your super fund once a year will just roll over money to pay for it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the reason that is some superannuation funds might be great at managing super, but the insurance offerings are terrible.
Okay. And can you increase the insurance amount, that your insurance level, or is that determined by the super?
Yeah, you can increase it. Absolutely, you can increase it. Some of them even have automatic increases. Like if you have another child, you can automatically increase by a certain amount. Or if you increase your loan for your home, you can increase by some automatically. Anytime you apply for cover or increase it, unless it's automatic increase, you will be what's called underwritten. So they will go through your medical history and say, what have you had any issues? And it might be that, someone had a knee replacement. And so, or a knee reconstruction. They say, how long ago was it? 10 years. Okay. That's that long ago. You've had no other issues. They will still provide you full cover. So you can increase it. What I generally find, Rudy, a good financial plan will say, if you've had your children and you've got your home loan and you put a plan in place and your money, your wealth is increasing because your home loan's getting lower, your home's going up in value, you're increasing your super, you might be increasing other investments, and your kids are getting older, so the period of dependency is less. Your need for cover should go down every 3 or 4 years. So with a lot of my clients, if the school fees are finished and their home loan's lower, their house has increased in value, their super's gone up, and their investments have gone up, we will start dropping down the amount of cover they've got because they don't need as much anymore. So the biggest mistake people make is people will take out cover when they've got, 3 kids at home, they've got a $500,000 home loan or whatever it may be, and they really need the cover, but they never review it. So their cover gets more expensive as they get older, but they're not dropping it down because they can drop it down because they don't need as much. I had a surgeon as a client. When I met him, $28,000 of insurance a year. I mean, he was earning exorbitant amount. I said, why? He took it out 8 years before when he had 3 kids in private schools. He owed over $1 million in his home loan. All the 3 kids are out of school. The home loan was now $400,000. He paid off a lot. So we actually dropped his cover down dramatically to save money. So a lot of people don't think about that. As you get wealthier, your need for cover drops. So you can actually drop the cover down over time. If you've got a good plan, don't forget, you've got to have a good plan.
And can you move some the cover from one super to another? Or I normally see it reflecting, especially in your first superannuation fund. Or can you move it from the first to the second?
Yeah. Sometimes if you've got the cover inside the actual super fund, and you can move your super along. Sometimes the insurance you can move with it. Sometimes the other insurance might not accept it. So you need to keep your insurance with that super fund. You might leave a little bit of super in that fund just to keep the insurance.
Okay.
If you've got a super fund and you're paying once a year, it sends money off to your insurer, and then you change super funds, all you do is change which super fund's sending the money over. You don't necessarily need to change your insurance.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's really good, Jace. That's really awesome. Good info there. And I also liked. Do you want to maybe because I liked you shared your what do you call it, your PowerPoint presentation, Jace?
Yes, I really want to do this.
Please do. Please go ahead if you don't mind.
What I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share my screen, which is looking at, bear with me, which is looking at one of the beautiful things about home loans in Australia and how you can beat the banks. So I really want to make sure that this comes up.
Yes.
Let me know when it does.
It's loading.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. Maybe. Yes, you can see it. Yep. Now, now we can see it.
Yeah. All right. I'm just making it bigger. Does that help? Are you able to see?
It's loading.
It's
loading. Give me a sec.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see. Yes, we can.
So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that the banks, you see all the time, banks make billions of dollars profit every year. One of the biggest, I won't say cons because that might tend to be legal. They can do it legally. But if you take a $400,000 loan at 5.84%, which is these are actual calculations from one of the big 4 banks. Okay. Your loan repayment per month for a 30-year loan is $2,300.
It doesn't come with the slide. The slide you're seeing is slide 1, I think.
Okay.
Just maybe click. Let's try. It's not.
So showing. Okay. Bear with me for a sec.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Maybe you can reshare again, perhaps, if you need to.
Yeah.
We can see the PowerPoint program and goal setting.
Can you see it when I don't have it in the presentation?
Okay, now it's loading. Good. Now we can see it. Now we can see.
Okay. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So in relation to, if you take a $400,000 loan to buy a home, the 30-year loan, 30-year loan, 5.84%, your loan repayment per month is $2,358, minimum loan repayment. The bank loves it if you make minimum loan repayments because you'll end up paying back on that $400,000 loan. You can see in the top line of numbers there, $848,596. So you'll pay back more than double what you borrow. That's how the bank makes money. So that's an interest rate. You're paying total interest of $448,000. So what I then did is said, okay, well, hang on. If you pay back an extra $200 a month, does it make much of a difference? A lot of people think it doesn't. Justin, it's like when you ask me that super question, what's the super matter if someone's young, right? What's $200 a month? It's $50 a week. It's $7 a day. It's a coffee, right? If you make that $200 a month extra, your repayments go up by $200 a month. You pay back total repayments of $754,000. So your total interest is now $354,000. You've saved $94,000 in repayments, 86. So, no, actually, yeah. So, and you pay your loan off in 24 years and 9 months. One coffee a day less, all right? Let's get to someone who says, hang on, I really want to get rid of this. I hate the banks. I want to pay it off as quick as possible. And they pay off $400 extra a month. It's $100 a week, okay? It's $13.50 a day. The total repayments you're now making is $695,000. Your total interest bill is $295,000. So it is now, you've saved $153,000 in interest. You pay it off in 21 years and 1 month, okay? You've paid that home loan off 9 years earlier. You might then use your equity to borrow to invest and buy an investment property or something like that. The bank wants you to be on the top line, Justin. I'm sure you've come across that with a lot of their dealings with the banks. They'd love for you to pay back $848,000 over 30 years. They'd love you to do that. I think it's smarter to pay off $695,000 and then in 21 years and 1 month, you don't owe them a thing. It's a smarter thing to do. I'll just go on to the next slide. Can you see that next slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Let's go to the next step. So you've done this. You've said, okay, I'm going to commit to me. Justin's told me I've got to pay more on my loan because he's a mortgage broker. He's telling me that he's going to get this done. You do make those repayments, okay? So in the situation where what we're going to do now is say, okay, once you've paid the loan off, you save 50% of what that loan repayment was from the time you finish paying it off until you're 30. So we want to see what the comparison is for each of the scenarios in 30 years' time. So you borrow $400,000, you make the minimum repayment in 30 years' time, all you've done is paid your home loan. You've got no extra money, okay? The next one down where you pay $200 extra a month. If you save half, so you get to the 24 years and 9 months, and you save from that, you've paid out your home loan, you say, okay, I was paying $2,558. I'm going to increase my lifestyle as a reward. I'm going to then do some travel. I'm going to, whatever you choose to do with half of the money and the other half you save for your future. So you're saving $1,280 a month, which is half of what your loan repayments were for 5 years and 3 months. At a 5% earning rate, at the end of the 30 years, you've now got $92,000. Okay. So you've saved $200 extra a month on your home loan, a coffee a day. And then after you've paid it off after the 25 years or 24 years, 9 months, you save half of your repayments. You got $92,000 in 30 years. Let's go the next step down where you've said, okay, I hate the banks that much. I'm going to pay $400. Justin's told me to do it. It's going to work. You pay an extra $400 a month, right? You pay that. You've got 8 years and 11 months to save up until the 30 years, and you save half of that. You'll have $186,000 in 30 years. This the bank doesn't tell you. The top line is you pay the minimum repayments over 30 years. All that happens at the end of the 30 years, you've paid your home loan off, and you paid them $840,000. The second one where you commit a little bit to yourself and you say, I can put $200 extra a month in. At the end of 30 years, you've got $92,000 in savings. And you've had an extra lifestyle of 15 grand a year for 5 years and 3 months because you've only used half of it in the savings. Right? The bottom one, where you pay $400 a month, you've got $186,000 at the end of the 30 years. But for 8 years and 11 months, you've had an extra $16,000 you've got in your lifestyle per year for 8 years and 11 months. And at the end of it, you still got $186,000. People don't, if they don't teach this at schools, they should teach it at schools. The bank's definitely not going to tell you. But I'm very passionate about the fact that you need to build up extra payments if you can and prioritize your goals. If you came to me and says, my goal is to pay my home loan off, this is the space we'll be starting to look at. These are the numbers we'll be working at. How much are we going to get? How much are we going to save you? How much improvement are we going to put into your life? The beauty of it is the extra payments also in your home loan. If there's an emergency, you can access some of that money back. You can redraw it out. So it's like this automatic emergency fund. Okay. So your need for insurance, once again, Rudy, you asked a question before, dropped off. But these are very, very real numbers that are from a Big Four bank calculator.
That's really helpful and very insightful, I think. Yeah, so much of there's a question before we go to the investments part. But
a question, Jason. This half heading to savings, this is extra cash that you have, right?
No, that is, so if you're paying, it's your loan repayments you've been making. Once you pay your home loan off, then you say, okay, half of that I'm going to spend on lifestyle or travel but half of it I'm still going to commit to my future. So for the second one down there, 2,558 was your loan repayment. Once you pay that off, your loan off, you say, okay, half of that 2,558 is going to go towards extra living, extra travel, or to reward myself for being such a good little saver. The other half of 1,280 is going to go into an investment fund or whatever that may be. And if it's earning only 5%, it's going to get you to that number at the in the column on the right.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure everyone gets that point.
Yeah. So it's really, I mean, if you said, well, you know what, I'm just going to keep saving the whole repayments, then you'll have more than double because it's compounding returns. But even if you double the bottom one, and you saved it for extra, you'll have $370,000 extra in 30 years if you kept saving your whole loan repayment. So I use half because most people, once they've paid the home loan off, will actually say, I'm now free of that home loan. I'm going to live a little bit better, but I still want to do savings. We could take it to the whole next level and say, let's do that money into superannuation pre-tax. It'll get too complicated, but that's even better. All right. So there are beautiful strategies you can do, but I wanted to highlight this, that just by making a little commitment to yourself and saying, how much extra can I put in? Is it really worth it? Because one of the questions, Justin, I'm sure you've been asked many times is, my minimum repayment is X. Well, it's not going to make much of a difference if I don't make any extra repayments. But the second one down, $200 a month, that's $7, less than $7 a day. Look at the difference. You pay your home loan off 5 years and 3 months earlier. It's brilliant. It's not sexy to talk about at a barbecue. I can tell you that. It's not at all, but it works. It works. Absolutely works. Yeah.
Thanks, Jace. Maybe we'll touch on investments also, Jace, the last topic. But this is really good. This is what you call food for thought, I dare say, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think slide number 6, I think that was a good one. I liked slide number. So slide number, is it so number 4, is it? Sorry, beg your pardon. Slide number.
Oh, it might be 4. Yeah. Oh, investments. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So I'll click off the screen sharing if you want.
Actually, we can see that. We can see that. Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, we can see this.
I'll leave it on.
Yeah, leave it on. Yeah. Oh, good.
Okay. So when you're looking at investments, it's really important that you have an idea about what you're trying to achieve with that investment. Time frame of an investment is very important. And I'll give an example. Just say someone had $10,000 and they invested it in the stock market because they wanted to go very, very well because they're using that to buy a car in a month's time. If the market dipped, they haven't got the time frame for it to bounce back. So time frame for it is very important. If you're looking to invest in sort of shares and those types of things, you're really looking at a 4 to 5 year minimum time frame. You've got access to your money, but you've got to give it the time to build and grow over time. Okay, so from a financial planning point of view, 5 years is a long-term time frame for us. So Justin, going back to your question, is super important. If you've got a 40-year time frame for your super, that's 8 long-term periods. So you've got a lot of compounding you can do there. So the time frame for if you've only got 2 months to invest because you need the money in 2 months' time, putting in something that's speculative might be at your detriment. You might be going backwards because if the market does drop, you don't have the time frame for it to come back, and you need your money in 2 months. It hasn't come back. You're going to make a loss. So time frame is very important. Risk management is also very important, and risk management comes down to a few different things. One is looking at the quality of the investments you're investing in. You might look at it, say, investing in a bank in Australia, one of the safest financial institutions in the world. That's a very blue chip quality type of investment. But then you might look and say, okay, well, we've got a mining operation in Western Australia for lithium, and they've not really hit any rewards. If they do strike, it'll go big, but it might be that they don't ever become profitable. You might lose all your money. So it's very important. One of the keys of investing is to diversify as well. Pardon me. So you want to spread your money and your risk across different types of investments. So an example is super. You can invest in cash, bonds, property, shares, overseas shares. You've got major assets you can spread your money into, so you don't have all your eggs in one basket. So that means that if one asset doesn't go well, you don't have all your funds exposed to that. Diversification is very important, especially when you're talking about larger lump sums. Okay. Capital risk versus volatility. If the risk of an investment is that if it doesn't go well, that you lose all your money, that is a capital risk. That is huge, and it's something to be avoided. And volatility is something that you could have the best stock in the world, investment share, it will still go up and down every day. That's short-term volatility. The reason it goes down is because people will be trading, and you need to be aware of what is causing that volatility. Is it going to be long-term? So having an awareness of how your investments are tracking. Some people say, look, I don't want to be doing the shares myself. I'm more than happy to use a fund manager or use an exchange-traded fund to manage that. But I can tell you this, that I've had economics professors as clients. I haven't come across one client who has their own share portfolio that's beaten the index over 1, 3, and 5 years. Not one in 24 years. And why? Because people get emotional. They will stick and hold a stock that's gone up at the start, and it's gone, and it might be going down a lot. The reason it's going down might be very clear. The Brains Trust CEO, the smart CEO, has left. Well, people still hold on to it. So it's important that you use specialists to do the right investments for you. And liquidity is really important too. If you are investing and you might need, and just say you're saving for a house, and you invested in something that is like a long-term property bond or something like that, where you can't get your money out quickly, but then you go and find your dream home, but you can't get your money out. That's something you've got to be conscious of when you're investing. You don't want to put your money into an investment where you can't get it back out when you need it. That's really important. Do you have an emergency fund set aside? And home loan repayments, that's an emergency fund. If you've built up extra repayments in your home loan, it's always there as an emergency. So you can use that in an emergency. Don't be touching it to go on trips. Don't be touching it to do silly things that it's not part of your financial future. You've got goals, set goals, stick to your goals and be disciplined, but always have emergency funds set aside. The reason for that is if you had something happen, say to a car, and you've got to buy a new car for $10,000, you can, or $20,000, whatever it may be, you don't want to be necessarily cashing in investments that are at a cost and triggering tax and all those types of things because you haven't got emergency funds set aside. It's really important that you've got that flexibility to have where you're not sort of destructing your assets, your investments, because you need that money quickly. The other thing is when you have savings and you set a goal, it's really, really important with your savings and goals that you prioritize those goals. You sit down and say, what's really important to me? And when I talk to people about a budget, it's not about how many nights a week you can eat baked beans. It's about prioritizing what you want to spend your money on. Because those golden coins that I talked about that hit your account every week, how you save and spend that money and what you put aside for your future and how you balance up how much you want to live on today and your future, aligning them together is one of the most important decisions you'll make when you do a plan. Okay? Think of it like this. What does you in 15 years want you to do now? They still want you to live life, but they don't want you to forget about you in 15 years. You've got to balance that up. And everyone's different. Everyone is very, very different about that. But once you decide on your plan and your path, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to commit X amount of dollars. I get paid on a Thursday. On Friday, I'm going to save X amount of dollars, whether it be into your home loan or whatever. One of the best things that you can do is to automate as much as you can. So have it automatically sweep into your home loan or have it automatically go into your super or into your investment fund or wherever that may be. Do it so it's just automatic with your banking. So then you get used to it. You're not having to do it all the time or every week, and it'll be automatic. And then you'll start to see the benefits over time. But if you don't do it and you manually do it, if you forget to do that transfer that fortnight or that month, then the problem is that money's still in your account. You can go and spend it if you're not disciplined. So automating things is automating your discipline to you achieving your goals. So that's really important on the investment side. Yeah.
So that's awesome, Jason. That's really, really good. Before you wrap up, I just want to check are there any questions at all? Anyone with a burning question for Jason before we ask him to allow him to wrap it up? Because really good information, Jason. That's why you come back again one day in the near future, because this information is much needed. It's good to hear it, practice it, and get some, hard questions like, why does super matter? Why should I care? Sort of question, So
Yeah. There's some questions that have come in, Justin. Maybe
Yes.
I can go through them.
Yep.
okay.
So we have a question from Wycliffe. He's asking Jason to talk about money market funds, ETFs, and mutual funds. And I think this is with respect to the Australian market. And I think I can get sort of two questions from this. You could also talk about self-managed super funds. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll maybe go with that, and then I'll come with another question.
Okay. So the first one was talking about money market funds, exchange traded funds. What that is, they're types of investments that are where you can choose whether it be a share fund. So exchange traded funds, they're investments where they're traded, actively traded, and they're designed for a type of investment. So it might be a share fund, it might be an overseas share fund, it might be a property fund. So that's what you're doing there is you're using the expertise of a team that are professional managers to then choose to invest that money according to the rules of that particular fund. So that's not necessarily, you can do that in super or outside of super. And then money market funds are really it's a way of investing in different types of asset classes. A money market fund obviously is conservative. If you're looking at short-term benefits, obviously you've got online saving accounts as well. But really the tips and types of investments, straight exchange traded funds are designed to invest in a particular way, whether it be shares or property, etc. And you're using specialist managers to look after that going forward.
Are there examples of money market funds, ETFs, mutual funds here in Australia?
I can't give specific example because it's general advice.
Okay,
If I was to mention a fund, then that could be deemed to be specific advice.
Okay, got it.
But I can tell you now, there's over 4,000 different exchange traded funds available in Australia. There's a wide variety of options available. So if you feel that you're confident in a particular space, you can invest in those. But I can't. It's implied advice if I was to mention particular investment.
That's okay. Got it. And maybe we could speak on self-managed super. What's a self-managed super fund?
A self-managed super fund is where you run your own superannuation fund. You set up a trust deed, and you set up your own self-managed super fund. So it might be, Jason self-managed, Jason and Nicole, my partner, self-managed superannuation fund. Why people do that is because they want to have direct investments. So they might want to have the share portfolio they choose themselves. They might want to have an investment property in there. They might want to have, particular types of investments, and they want to have control over that. So the self-managed super fund, it's still its own tax bubble like super. You can't take money out of it because you've got a self-managed super fund. You can't break the law. But the money you choose to invest directly, and you're the trustee of that fund. So you bear the responsibilities of making sure that super fund stays compliant, but you also have the flexibility of choosing the investment choices. There are restrictions about having self-managed super funds invested in certain things. There are restrictions around what you can and cannot invest in. An example is you can get investment property where someone you don't know, someone you don't know lives in there. But if you want to get an investment property in self-managed super fund and have your brother live in it with his wife, or something, you can't do that. You can't have family members or related parties in there. Okay, so there are restrictions around that. Don't think. And I'll make it very clear now, if someone's looking to set up a self-managed super fund, you need to seek specific advice. It's a complex area of investing, setting up your own self-managed super fund. And you need to make sure, because you've got to get a tax return done every year, and you've got to get an audit done every year. So that'll be done generally by an accountant who knows what they're talking about, and they'll organise the auditor as well, generally. But there's a lot of flexibilities that it gives you. There's a lot of benefits because you can invest directly, but there are some legal obligations you've got there.
Okay. Is there a particular threshold that I need to have a self-managed super fund?
No, there's not, but you've got to work out and say, okay, well, the accounting fees are sort of $2,000 a year and the audit fees are $800 a year. That's $2,800 you've got in costs before you do anything. What's the benefit you're going to get by having direct investments? Is it going to outweigh that? So some people will say, yeah, I'm more than happy to do that with $100,000 because then I know I'm going to be putting a lot of money into super over the next 10 years. It's going to build up and I'm going to be happy. But you've also got to make sure that the reason you're doing it is to set up certain investments. If you haven't got enough money in your super, you might not be able to do those investments. Yeah.
Okay, got it. There's another question here.
Maybe a last question for Jace before we wrap it up. Thanks.
Yeah, that's okay. Could Jason touch on beneficiary nominations? Tim asked this.
Yeah. Beneficiary nominations in superannuation? Is that what he's at?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So with a superannuation fund, you have the option of putting down a beneficiary of who will receive that money if you were to pass. Okay. So you have to have you can have a spouse or legal dependent. Generally around that, you will need to tie that in with if you have a will in place. And seek advice around you getting a will. Get proper advice. Don't get a will kit. They're not worth the paper they're written on. But most people, what they will do is have their spouse as the beneficiary. You can have children in there as well. Be conscious that if money gets paid from superannuation, from a death benefit to an adult child who's not dependent, they may pay tax. So you might have it go to your spouse instead, because the spouse doesn't pay tax of superannuation benefits they receive.
Justin, just one more question. There's just one last question here. Let's just not leave it out. Just one more. Jason, can you touch on benefits of having a trust and how to set up one and the ongoing costs involved, if that's an area you talk about? That
is an exceptionally broad question. The benefits of a trust is the trusts were generally set up by doctors, etc., as asset protection. That has been whittled down with case law over time. A trust will allow, you can have family trust, discretionary trust. That's a whole nother session. if you are thinking about a trust and you have in your mind, the benefit of having a trust is that it's generally linked to a company, but I can't get into too many specifics because it's once again implied advice. Speak to your accountant about it. Your accountant should know about it. If they don't, find a new accountant.
Okay, got it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Jason. This has been an amazing and very informative, very engaging session, Jason. As I said, if this continues, we'll make you an honorary Kenyan. But it's been very informative. I'll allow our chairperson to say hello. I'm sure David is there. You can just say hello before we wrap it up, please. Are you there? No, maybe he's not. Maybe he's not. Okay, that's okay. Well, Jason, you can wrap it up. Do you have any final words, 2 sentences or 3 to say before we wrap it up? And yeah.
Hi, Justin.
Yeah, one of the things I would like to say, Justin, is that I appreciate again the opportunity to have a chat and pass on the knowledge. I'm very passionate about financial planning and people taking control of their finances. I tell you, one of the most important things, and I said it during the session, is if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Think about where you want to be in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years' time, and start your journey, start your education journey, start your thinking journey, start your prioritizing, put your plan in place. A plan should always be flexible. Your goals may change over time, but one of the benefits of doing that is that you start to prioritize what's really important to you. And that's one of the benefits of financial plan. And going through the process of saying, what plan do I need to have, is that you start to prioritize what's really important. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Time is we are now within the hour. So, Jason, once again, I really appreciate your time and general guidance, as I call it, and very informative. And the committee members here will express the same sentiments. And yeah, I chose you specifically because you're a wealth of experience and authority, and you have the track record to be able to speak from a point of knowledge. And yeah, so really appreciate your time, just taking the time in the middle of the night, not in the middle of the night, but at night to come talk to us. But as you see, we're all here, Jace, as I told you. We're very, there's been full attendance, and it's been fantastic. And we'll pick something else in the months to come where we'll invite you again. Maybe one day we'll do face-to-face, Jason. All of us will be in one room, and we'll give you some Kenyan delicacies and get to meet you in person. Who knows, you know?
You had me at Kenyan delicacies. That'll be fine. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, and yeah, I'll yeah. So as I see, they can see committee members appreciating. So, well, thanks, guys. Thank you all for attending, and I'm sure you've all learned a bit, quite a bit here today in the 1 hour. And thank you, Rolly, for you know, being able to host us. And we'll definitely keep in touch, Jason. And once again, yeah, if you need to reach out to Jason, please, in your own personal capacity. Jason, are you happy for us to share contact details with community members in the registry?
Yeah,
I'll do that. So we'll do so. If you need to reach out to Jason specifically to get tailored advice from him, you can do so, and we'll reach out. We'll send out his contact details. But for that, guys, keep informed and connect and inform each other, and make sure you're making a positive contribution to our community. Thank you, Jason. I'll let you go.
Thank you.
God bless, and we'll really keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I'll call you tomorrow, and I'll let you sleep, but I'll call you tomorrow to tell you thank you again.
That'd be great. Talk to you then, Justin.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, everyone.